Hello everybody. Today I want to talk about a very interesting place that is located in Pickens, South Carolina. This location is known as the Hagood Historic Site, and the address is 138 Hagood Mill Road, Pickens, South Carolina. As a side note, Pickens County was named for Revolutionary War General Andrew Pickens. Pickens was born in Pennsylvania on September 13, 1739, and his family moved to South Carolina when he was a young man. Pickens played a key role in defeating the British at the Battle of Cowpen, South Carolina, on January 17, 1781. The Hagood Mill site today consists of approximately 50 acres. There has been a grist mill on this property since the 1790s. At this time, Bailey Anderson owned the land and built what is believed to be the area's first mill. Anderson's descendants lost the land and the mill in 1825. At this time, the land was purchased by Ben Hagood. It is Ben's son, James Hagood, who is credited with building the current mill in 1845. The mill continued operation until 1966, when food safety regulations forced it to shut down. Now, a grist mill uses water to turn a water wheel that causes a large grooved millstone to rotate, and this grinds corn and wheat, and also other grains, to make meal or flour. In 1973, the mill, as well as the surrounding property, was donated to the Pickens County Museum. It was during the mid-1970s that the water wheel, as well as mechanized parts of the Hagood Mill, were rebuilt. Historians, as well as volunteers, worked together on the project. The historians and volunteers used as much of the original structure as possible. And more restoration was done in the 1990s by local historian and miller Alan Warner. The image you see is how the mill looks today. The mill is located beside Hagood Branch, and today water is pumped underground from the creek to run the water wheel. The water wheel is 20 feet in diameter and is 4 feet wide, and the wheel produces 22 horsepower when running. The two granite millstones weigh about 1,600 pounds each. The mill still produces ground grits today, and you can purchase these grits on site or online. The mill was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1972. While the mill is certainly a centerpiece of the Hagood Mill Historic Site, it is not the only one. There is also a petroglyph site located on the premises. The carvings are truly remarkable and were discovered in January of 2003 by Michael Bramlett. Bramlett was a volunteer with the South Carolina survey team that was headed up by archaeologist Tommy Charles of the University of South Carolina. Bramlett discovered that several human figures were carved into a boulder, and that gave cause for further inspection of the huge stone. The boulder was partially covered by an old dirt road that dated back to the 1820s. Once the road was removed, the full detail of the site was discovered. In all, there are 32 carvings on the boulder. 17 of these represent people, and the others are abstracts. Tommy Charles believes that they are prehistoric because they were created by pecking, most probably with stone tools. But a definite age of these petroglyphs has not been determined. No one knows who drew the petroglyphs, and this likely will remain a mystery. The petroglyphs cannot be carbon dated. This is due to the moist climate in the area, that has washed away any organic matter that is needed for carbon dating. The petroglyphs that represent humans are about 5 inches high, with stick arms and legs. One of the figures has been named the Refrigerator Man due to its strange shape. Instead of digging up the boulder and removing it from the area, a 2-room structure was built over the site to protect it from damage and also so the petroglyphs could be on permanent display. I will link an article about the discovery and preservation of the petroglyphs in the description portion of the video. The room where the boulder is located gives an audio history of how the petroglyphs were discovered and is aided by lighting that helps you see the carvings much better than natural lighting can provide. Also, there is a walkway that goes around the boulder, and this walkway is wheelchair accessible. As you can see from my pictures, the carvings are very impressive. They show historic rock art at its finest. Certainly these type of carvings could be considered snapshots in time, or maybe the first version of emojis. At any rate, whoever left these here thought their message was important enough to be recorded, and they did this the only way they knew how. I have been to this site multiple times, and these carvings are fascinating to see. Now, when you enter the Hagood Petroglyph building, you will access the first of 2 rooms that make up the structure. The first room includes displays from Tommy Charles' book, Discover South Carolina's Rock Art, and displays of portable petroglyphs. Portable rock petroglyphs are human-made markings or drawings that are carved on mobile rocks or stones. Some were believed to have had supernatural or religious importance. These portable relics are, in many cases, passed from generation to generation, staying in the same family or groups of people for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. Portable petroglyphs are found all over the world, and that includes the United States. The portable petroglyphs on display here, except for one, were found in the upstate of South Carolina. It is said that rock art was the first global language and used as a form of communication. The portable petroglyphs here are a testament to that, in my opinion. Also in this area is an exhibit of Native American artifacts from the Paul West collection. Mr. West donated this collection to the Hagood Mill Foundation so that everyone can have access to this impressive exhibit. The collection includes Native American artifacts from the Southwest, as well as from Pickens, Oconee, and Greenville counties of South Carolina. Here you will see many Native American relics such as pottery, cooking wares, spear and arrowhead points, knife blades, and chopping tools. Also, you can see bow and arrows as well as hatchets and axes. There is also a section of photographs dedicated to Native Americans that were taken by photographer Frank A. Rhinehart. Rhinehart was dedicated to photographing and documenting Native Americans for most of his adult life. Rhinehart, along with his assistant, Adolph Murr, captured what Tom Southall said was one of the best photographic documentations of Indian leaders at the turn of the century. Southall is the former photograph curator at the University of Kansas Spencer Art Museum. The photographs on display here were taken in 1898, and some of these Indian leaders participated in the Battle of Little Bighorn and the Wounded Knee Massacre. Pickens County, South Carolina, where the Hagood Historic Site is located, once belonged to the Cherokee Nation, and their history here is well documented and felt to this day, as there are many towns and waterways that have Native American names. In keeping with Native American history, this site also has a sacred fire circle location and a medicine wheel garden location. Many Native American tribes considered fire to be sacred, and this is true for the Cherokees. Sacred fires in general have been used as a way to begin sacred events, rituals, and ceremonies. They can also be used for prayer, remembrance, and to promote togetherness. In short, the sacred fire is a place to gather and acknowledge significant days or occurrences. There are specific protocols that must be followed during the ceremony. The medicine wheel garden is a Native American tradition. The circle represents infinity. It has no beginning and has no end, but it is all-inclusive. Native Americans have included the circle into the medicine wheel garden design for generations. It is a representation of their connection with the universe and their Creator. Traditionally, these gardens would include medicinal herbs, and they are considered sacred places for healing and to be free from disturbance. The picture you see of the medicine garden was taken in October and obviously out of season. Now, just across from the grist mill that we saw earlier, there are two log cabins, and they both have interesting stories. The Murphy Hollingsworth log cabin was built around 1791 and was one of the earliest cabins to be built in the area. It served as a home for Reverend William Murphy. Reverend Murphy served as a pastor for the Sakona Baptist Church in Pickens, South Carolina. The cabin was occupied on and off up to the mid-1860s. In 1999, the two-story cabin was reconstructed at this site by local cabin builder Ralph Perry and his family, as well as the Pickens County Department of Building Maintenance. The Hagood cabin was originally built in the early 1800s. It was built by the Benjamin Hagood family on land that they owned about a half a mile from where it currently sits. This is the third location that the cabin has called home. The cabin may have originally been built as a store or trading post due to the way it was constructed. The cabin is known as a 5-logger because it required only 5 logs averaging 18 inches high to go from the floor to the ceiling. In 1960, the cabin was falling apart, and 13-year-old Billy Davis persuaded the owner of the cabin to sell it to him for $60. That was young Billy's life savings. Billy, with the help of his family, was able to reconstruct the cabin in back of the Davises' home in Pickens, South Carolina. They gave tours of the cabin, and it was also used in a Randy Travis video. The property was sold in 2001, and the cabin auctioned off. Dr. Larry Brotherton, who lived in Easley, South Carolina, bought the cabin to ensure that it stayed in Pickens County. He stored the logs at his business, and in 2003, he donated the cabin to the Pickens County Cultural Commission so that it could be reconstructed at its current location. Both Billy Davis and Dr. Brotherton deserve a huge thank you for ensuring that this piece of history would not be lost to time. Just behind the two cabins is an earthen oven. These ovens are also called earth ovens, ground ovens, and cooking pits. These ovens are used to capture heat in order to bake, smoke, or steam food. These types of ovens were an important part of this area in the past and provided a much-needed tool to prepare food. Earth ovens have been used by many cultures and are still used in places today throughout the world. This is a soapstone boulder that has two partially carved bowls made by Native Americans about 5,000 years ago. Soapstone was used by Native Americans to make ceremonial objects, bowls, pipes, and other items. Soapstone is a somewhat soft rock and is easier to carve compared to other stones. Now I would like to highlight some other interesting things to see and experience at the Hagood Mill Historic Site. This is an example of a moonshine still. Moonshining was a way of life for many in this area, especially in what was known as the dark corner of the Carolinas. The temptation was great to make and sell moonshine because of the money that could be made. Here you see the cotton gin and blacksmith locations at the site. Cotton gin, which means cotton engine, and cotton gins were used to separate the cotton fibers from their seeds. Inventor Eli Whitney patented the cotton gin in 1794. The cotton gin here is an 1890 Pratt model, and cotton was considered to be king in the South throughout the 1800s and into the 1900s. Blacksmithing was a huge part of communities of all sizes throughout America in the 19th century, and the upstate of South Carolina was no exception. The blacksmith shop here is a great representation of a forge, and also they offer blacksmithing classes, and you can find out more about this on their website, which I will list in the description. Prater's Creek Bridge was moved here in 2007. It was originally built in 1930 and was used in two different locations in Pickens County. Bridges of this type are no longer made and have been replaced for the most part throughout the United States. This site has a nature trail, and if you decide to walk it, you will come to this bridge. I wanted to include this as I am a fan of wooden bridges, and the setting is very nice also. The Heritage Pavilion is available to rent for special events such as weddings. This pavilion is also used every third Saturday for their Folklife Festival. Please contact them for information concerning availability. I also came across this gamecock while I was there. He was keeping an eye on me, so I assume he may be the sheriff of the site. But he is certainly a beautiful rooster. I hope you enjoyed this video about the Hagood Mill Historical Site located in Pickens, South Carolina. I did not cover all there is to do and see here, so I would encourage you to visit this special place if you haven't. Also, be sure and check out their website for any programs or upcoming events they have. Again, I will leave a link to their website in the description. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Also, be sure to leave a comment. I will have another video out soon. Thanks for watching.